Hey guys, this is Gatsby with Tape, and today you join me for episode 6 of Kerbal Rising, and today our fleet is leaving Moho. We vanquished the forces in the last turn, and today we're heading back to Nebos, because we need to form up with some new ships to complete our fleet, because now phase 1 of our plan is over. We have a lot of control in the inner solar system now. We control many planets and strong points, and now we want to head out into the outer solar system where there are far more planets, and we can start to lay down the seeds of our civilization. So, we are, however, leaving a corvette behind around Moho, just because it hasn't been colonized yet, and there's also a few things we'll discuss later which may need some oversight, so we're leaving a little bit of defense there. So we're down a time with just one ship, but the rest of the fleet makes it back to Nebos, unscathed and ready to go. So, once we've gotten ourselves into orbit, we will see the addition to the fleet. Just one ship, but an expensive one. This is 40 points worth of ship, because this is our first destroyer, a new class of ship, a new designation of ship. This is a Dagger class destroyer, and of course is therefore named the UFN Dagger. On the bottom there you can see it's packing a 155mm railgun. It also has secondary batteries of 2 double-barreled 105mm guns, and 3 anti-ship lasers for good measure. This will be the core of our fleet. Everything else will be centered around this, and this will provide enough firepower for us to stake our claim to the outer solar system without having to constantly come back and refuel and rearm, because we might not be able to do that when we're deep out in the outer rim. So this will be the mainstay of our fleet. And now that we're formed up, sadly we cannot stay long at our beautiful homeworld hanging in the inky black there. We must head out into the solar system to find new worlds to liberate, by force if need be. And the first of these worlds is Butai, a beautiful world with an oxygen-rich atmosphere and a large moon, hanging just outside of Duna's orbit, just beyond Duna. And yes, this will be our first planet we reach in the outer solar system. A nice planet to have, because oxygen is important for being alive. So yes, here we are. We get a little bit of a closer look here. This is Butai. Of course, the oxygen atmosphere in some sort of liquid oceans could make this a very good candidate for a second homeworld for the United Federation of Nebos. The people here need to be freed from their old leaders. They have become corrupt and unable to lead their people, and it is ruining the lives of these people. We must free them. And in that vein, we have formed up our fleet, gotten our skiff and our corvette out of the UFN Hercules to link up with our ships and head down to Kibos. That is the moon right there in the top right. It's a rather beautiful looking moon. We'll get a closer look in a bit. But that is where the enemy fleet is. Well, I say fleet. It is kind of just the one ship, but it might really be a fleet of a ship. We'll get a look at it in a while, but it could be rather worrying. You can see there's actually a bit of a thrust-to-weight ratio differential here between the B9 engines and the interstellar engines. Slightly problematic, but can be fixed after the burn is completed. But yeah, not ideal. But we'll fix that, and we do actually form up the fleet and get on down to Kibos. A beautiful purpley, bluey world, and it's must be fairly mineral rich to be that color, which would make it a rather nice mining installation. So we make our orbital insertion and plane change to meet up with the enemy ship. And yeah, you can see the thrust-to-weight ratio differential quite a lot here. It's not ideal, but it's fine. We'll just catch her up after. I guess that's just burned together, not quite knowing what to do with engines. But yeah, easier than not having it at all. And here we are, the beautiful little purple world, with many craters actually. It probably also adds to the mineral content of the planet, or the moon. But before we approach our enemy, it has seen us coming, and now we get a look at the ship. The Balance of Terror. This is a dreadnought. It has 300mm of armor, and that mag cannon is almost as big as our frigates. This is a colossal ship, and we actually believe it was the colony ship that brought the civilization here, armed to the teeth to get through anything it may find. And it can do that. That's a lot of firepower on that mag cannon, the biggest railgun we've ever seen. You can see it's actually fired already as we enter load range. Luckily that isn't too much of a problem, because the first shot usually misses in BD Armory, so everything's okay. We need to act quickly though. If that gun hits any of our ships, it may strip through their armor, even the more armored destroyer So we're firing away some missiles to try and destroy it as quickly as possible, and maybe just distract the mag cannon, which, yeah, should be a good strategy. We're firing 2 at the same time. We're not going to bother with the smaller torpedoes carried by the corvettes, because they just won't do any damage. You can actually maybe just make out there another shot from the mag cannon and one from our railgun just hitting the enemy ship there. I'm not sure you can see it because it moves so quickly. You can see it's got its gun trained on us now, but it is tilting a little bit because, well, this ship's actually very, very, very not controllable due to its mass, because it is gigantic. It's getting hit by our 155mm and maybe even our 55mm railguns already, but is not showing any signs of breaking. Our first torpedo was flying in with a little bit of a red carpet of 20mm gunfire. This has an immense number of secondary batteries, but it looks like it might be firing at the missile behind us, but either way, 20mm lasers are the only thing that can really stop missiles. So this has no problem finding its mark right at the center of the ship and explodes and appears to do almost no damage to this gigantic ship. You can actually see it's being hit by lasers now. Our fleet is moving in quickly, and we're actually within laser range. The Dreadnought has elected not to use its railgun at this range. I'm not sure that's the best strategy, but it should be okay. The second torpedo flies in now, a little lower, strikes just below the mag cannon, but it does not come off. We do a lot of damage to the bow of the ship, but I'm not sure that will be enough. The best thing, though, is it started to make it tilt uncontrollably, and now it can't point its mag cannon at us. I try and make the destroyer use its slightly bigger guns, but I think it's having none of it. Luckily, the UFN Scimitar gets into range and starts opening up with its 75mm chain guns, which are gigantic and very fast firing, and you'll see them pretty much eviscerate this ship pretty soon. I thought they were 30 mils at first until the ship exploded so quickly, because 75mm guns are no joke. The UFN Scimitar is a gun frigate, and that is really, well, that's what it does. So with a combination of weapons, this is ripped apart very quickly. A little quicker than I thought it would, actually. It wasn't really a great idea just to put a dreadnought by itself. It's kind of like a battleship in real life. It needs support ships, because that mag cannon, while powerful, only fires every 20 seconds, and you're going to miss that first shot, so it's a little problematic. So it wasn't the best idea, really, but I guess these aren't really a warlike people. They just happen to have the big colony ship, which could be transformed into the dreadnought, which we believe is what happened. Anyway, with the space clear rather quickly, we send down the UFN Hercules, packed with a ground crew to head down to the surface of Kibos and take out the ground forces. Because, well, now the space is clear, and that was all the ships around Butai. Again, not really a warring people, but corrupt nonetheless, and they do have a significant amount of ground forces. We got a beautiful shot of Butai then, just there, and then, of course, the flyby of the carrier as we have to change our inclination, and then greeted by a Butai rise. That's a weird word. That kind of sounds like high rise. I don't know, I said Butai rise, and I started thinking of big cities. Anyway, beautiful planet nonetheless. And a beautiful moon. Weird little green patch over there. That might be some radioactive material or something. Anyway, the ostrich loaded with tanks is just moving in now. We're actually coming in just below this. The enemies have positioned themselves on a hill within a crater, so we're actually coming in at a really bad angle. We've got this massive valley and a bunch of ridges. It looks like just north of the crater there might be a better way in. I was going to use the kind of, so you can sort of see a land bridge at the top right, but I'm actually going to use the valleys to try and get up close, because we're not really sure what these guys have, so we're going to try and use the advantage we have of having a fast-firing weapon, because of we use a Bofors cannon on one of our tanks. So we actually pick kind of here to land. It doesn't look like they have very long-range weapons, otherwise we'd be being shot right now, which wouldn't be great for the ostrich since it has no armor or weapons. We use the cover of the hills to get within 8 kilometers and land here at a rather nice, very purple part of the planet. And then we're going to try and sneak on over there using the terrain for cover. This wasn't really actually that intentional, it's a very bumpy world. So yeah, we touch down rather sort of ceremoniously and get our first tank out. Of course, the Manta Ray Mark II-A with its 57mm Bofors, a very effective weapon at close range. High rate of fire, pretty big round, I like it a lot. and these tanks have proved to be quite effective. And the Mark IIB, with its 105mm gun, which has had its size fixed. Now it's no longer like a 20mm gun that fires giant shells, and it doesn't look quite so ridiculous, so yes. Anyway, we get them going now, heading on towards that hill. I was a little worried I wouldn't be able to get up the hill just in front of us because it's so steep, but then, you know, 0.2 G of gravity, so we just jump right over it, and it's all fine. Well, we don't really jump, we just drive up it. We get a little bit of air, because, you know, we do some sick stunts here at the United Federation of Nebos. But everything's good, and I thought they might be able to shoot me from the top of this hill, but no, not really. So we actually get really close to almost within 1 kilometer before we engage, which is really advantageous to us, because it turns out they actually have these 105mm guns, as you'll see in a second. So the 57mm really... well, it's really advantageous towards us because you can see how much fire it's laying down. It's just stripping off pieces already, and then combined with the bigger gun, this is just a good combination. It puts down some heavy fire and then just sprays it with a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I think this is the combination of weapons I'm going to stick with for now. It looks like we've already destroyed the gun on the enemy tank, one of them at least. This one still has its, but seems to be too light to really have such a big gun. These are nice looking tanks, but I think they're just too light. I don't seem to have this problem. Maybe it's because I'm moving or firing sideways more often. Or maybe it's because I just have a longer tank, but I never seem to have that problem with the bigger guns. Anyway, yeah, so these are pretty much swept up. The first tank, there's a bit of a pause as time stands still. It appears to stand still as we take a man's life. Yay, dark. Anyway, and then the second one is just flipped over and ripped apart and just destroyed. Again, not a very warlike people there. The tanks, I don't know, weren't that good. Maybe we're just getting too good at this. Or maybe they needed some slightly smaller guns to fend us off. But no losses, no damage to any of these vessels. I don't think we have any damage to our fleet either. We're doing pretty well today. Anyway, that's that conquered, and we're going to drive on over there and tell them to get the hell out. Well, no, we're going to be like, yo, you're free now. And they'll be like, yay. And we'll be like, yeah, it's good, right? Freedom. And they'll be like, ah, and then everything's cool. Anyway, with Kibo's clear, the UFN Titan, our other carrier, has been heading down to Butai because, well, with the moon liberated, we need to go and liberate the surface of the planet. So we've prepared ourselves 2 new fighter jets. Single-engined fighters, which are slightly better than the F-15-y kind of ones we had on Eve. Those fighters only really worked on Eve, they weren't super great, but these are pretty nice. However, on entry to the atmosphere, they do flip out a bit, but this doesn't actually appear to be a problem with the aircraft. I do get control very quickly, but Burn Together just has a little trouble re-entering fighter aircraft into the atmosphere of a weird world. I mean, I don't know. Get your shit together, mod developers. No, I'm joking. But no, I just turned that off and decide to control them manually. Because, you know, I can fly 2 vehicles at once. I do it quite frequently with cars. How much harder could it be with re-entering fighter jets? Anyway, yeah, you can get a good look at these now. They are single engine, so they might be a tiny bit hampered with speed, but they are insanely maneuverable. They have a fairly standard wing design. I mean, I've stretched it a little bit and tweaked it so it has a really good relationship between its center of mass and center of lift, so it's very maneuverable. It also has some hidden control surfaces, just as small ones in the wings, that allow it to just have a little more pitch authority. Anyway, I have so much fun just kind of flying these 2 planes together that I do a little bit of, you know, a little bit of aerial ballet. Just fly over. I do this for too long. You're going to see a little bit of it here of me just flying around. Because in what other game do you get to just rendezvous fighters in the air on entry to some random world that you're going to take over? I mean, only in Kerbal Space Program with the insane mod developing community do you get to do stuff like this. And it's just so elegant and graceful, you know? Just flying around, making sure this other plane's fine. Yeah, that's what we're doing, of course. This isn't just fun. We're checking it hasn't lost anything to the re-entry. Of course, it's all functional. Anyway, and then we get to see the other lovely bit of it, of the other plane automatically rendezvousing with us using the BD Armory Wingman module. And you can see how kind of quickly it manages to get down onto our tail. And oh, that is serene, especially with those mountains hanging in the mist there. It truly is just... it's a beautiful game and a beautiful set of mods. I mean, I know this is a series about war, but can we just take a second? Look at that stuff. That's beautiful. That's why we're taking this. We're freeing it from the evil people. They don't get enough. They don't look at this and enjoy it enough. We're going to enjoy it more. Anyway, So we get over there, and we actually have 3 enemy fighters to take down. There are some more defenses on this planet, but the main thing we have to do right now is gain air superiority so we can bomb out the other stuff. So we're going down with our 2 fighters. I'm pretty confident that with our these exceptionally maneuverable fighters, combined with our energy advantage in terms of height and speed, we should be able to take these guys down. And because of the way we're coming at them, we might be able to intercept them with a missile. Fighters with antimatter engines actually are very hard to shoot down with missiles because they're often faster than the missiles. But you can see our missiles might actually intercept them kind of head on. And that might be the best way to do it. We might be able to get a lucky shot there. And then and that will level the playing field, allowing it just to be 2-on-2, which should be pretty good. And, mercifully, the missile strikes the enemy plane and it is just ripped apart and bursts into flames. Now, before we just eviscerate the other ones, I thought I might as well go and get a look at them. This is the damaged one, but you can see these are very nice looking fighters, actually. Forward swept wings, quite big, 2 engines, but I just don't think they're... I'm pretty confident. I think our fighters are extremely maneuverable, and small fighters tend to be quite good in dogfights. And we are getting into dogfight range now. We're still firing a few missiles, but I think it will go to guns, which is always nice to see. Also, that comes with dangers, given that we're using antimatter engines. There could be some serious explosions. I'm just checking the 2 fighters now. I'm not exactly sure what's happening here until I switch back to the other fighter, the other F-101 Whirling Dragon. And actually notice that just above me, I'm actually right on the tail of one of the enemy fighters, and we start putting down fire. And in fact, it just can't escape from us. It turns out it's not any faster than us with its 1 engine, because this is such a light. With its 2 engines, because this is such a light aircraft, and this is far more maneuverable. It tries to get shots away at my other F-101, but I managed to chase it off its tail and just start stripping it apart. Its wingman is actually suffering the exact same fate right now. You can see it exploding just below us. This is just perfect synchronicity of our fighters, and we're getting more and more hits. And I decide I always love to see it from the from the other perspective, and now we get to see it be stripped apart, lose control, and then just be ripped apart and get to see our fighter just pull an insane dodge of all this debris. You can see it just moves out of the way and flies past absolutely beautifully. These have performed extremely well. This is the other one. They've suffered the same fate. We've taken down 3 fighters with no losses. I'm very, very happy with how these performed, actually. The the Whirling Dragon, by the way, that's a move in Kung Fu. An aerial spinning kick, very maneuverable and fast and awesome. So I thought it was appropriate for these. Anyway, I'm landing one rather sensibly, while the other one just keeps flying around and keeps shooting the debris, and I guess maybe the cockpit, because he's kind of a dick. Look at him, he's still up there, just like, I'ma kill you, I know you've posed no threat, but, he's got the bloodlust, you can't control everyone. Anyway, we land the plane rather safely, but this guy's having none of that. It is a custom, which you may have noticed over a few of the previous episodes. It is a custom of the United Federation of Nebos to ingratiate ourselves to our opponents after they are defeated by pulling off some sick stunts. So we do a little bit of sick stunt flying just to make sure they know we're cool. Because, then they'll be like, we were defeated in battle, but look how cool these stunts are. And yeah, we do a bit of a flip and then come in for an extreme landing by just doing a little bit of a loop-de-loop and then coming in to land. So yeah, having a little bit of fun with these fighters. They're insanely fun to fly. I'm really happy with these. I can't wait to see them go up against Penguins fighters. Anyway, we do a bit of a tactical brofist on landing, and then, the day is ours. We have won this battle rather nicely, rather squarely. I'm extremely happy with how that went. We have almost conquered Nebos minus like a naval vessel, and we've taken no losses. It's going very well. Anyway, now that the fighting is over for today, we are deploying ourselves some colony ships. One to Gilly to go and colonize Gilly, because, we need to put a mining installation. And oh my god, KSP, just ruin my cinematic with your camera bullshit. Okay, we fixed it. Anyway, we're going to go and put a mining installation on Gilly so that we have a little more, a few more points to launch ships. That's always good. Now the Eve system is fully colonized, and we're going to do the same with Moho, sending a colony ship down there. Also too small to fit any more than 1 installation. But we are going to put one down there. This, by the way, has been 2 turns in 1 episode, if you didn't notice. That's how we've launched so many colony ships and destroyers and things. Anyway, the installation we put on Moho is not a mining installation as we have been putting on there. As I alluded to earlier with the Corvette left in orbit, there might be some threats in the solar system. So on the nearest planet to Moho, Scorch, we've been noticing a massive eruption of violence recently. Now this isn't anything uncommon, it's a known pirate homeworld, but what is uncommon is our scientists have been telling us that there have been some radiation spikes consistent with Kerbstein drive activity. Those are the engines we use to go into planetary, extremely quickly, so we don't have to do big Hohmann transfer orbits. So it appears that there's another advanced civilization in the solar system, potentially. I mean, we could have misread those readings, but out of an abundance of caution, Moho has been set up as a defensive planet. It has the ship in orbit. That'll be backed up by a defensive home fleet that we'll be building. But until then, we've also deployed a huge amount of ground units here on Moho, and that big tracking station to really monitor Scorch, because that is some very worrying signals. So down here we have some new hardware. You can see just there that is a new tank. It's a Rhino Mark 1, and it is a heavy tank. It has 450 caliber machine guns and a 155mm railgun and 300mm of armor. It is a tough tank, and we have 2 of them down here. As well as that, we have 2 75mm emplacements. The big 75mm guns, always good, always useful. And along with them, we actually have some 30mm emplacements as well, just for maybe, not air defense, but I guess if they sent a bomber. Also, they lay down a massive rate of fire, so it's very useful to have that around. Anyway, so yeah, that is the turn. I hope you're not too worried about these radiation. Our scientists tend to overblow things. I'm sure it's maybe just a reactor breach or something. They're a bunch of over dramatic, crazy. It'll be fine. I'm sure it's just pirates doing what they do. Anyway, so yeah, shouldn't be any problem with us taking over the whole solar system. Can't see any problems there. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been episode 6 of Kerbal Rising. I will see you next time.